Okay, whenever you're ready, you're good.
Hi, my name is Stefan Nusser. I'm Chief Product Officer at Fetch Robotics. We're based in San Jose, California. And let me welcome you to our headquarters. I know this looks like a warehouse, but it's really a demo facility. We are located here in our headquarters. This is where we design, this is where we develop and build all of our robots. And today I want to welcome you here. Since we cannot be together in person, I want to welcome you here to our headquarters and show you two of our new product demos that we've got set up for you here. So for the first product demo here, we want to talk about the workflow that is happening quite frequently in warehouses, case picking. Case picking is the workflow when you collect a single case orders and put together a mixed case pallet. Now that happens frequently when you put together a pallet for a store, but it also happens when you have a picking operation in the same distribution center and you're putting together that mixed case pallet for a forward picking area. This is typically done by a trained associate with either a forklift or a walkie rider or another machine that can move a pallet. So the associate gets on the forklift, collects an empty pallet, and then starts driving through the pallet storage area, collecting the cases that you need for that particular order. Usually there's some kind of guidance system involved, a device that tells the picker what kind of cases to look for and how many to pick. This can be a voice guidance system, it can be a heads-up display vision guidance system, or it can simply be a scan gun with a screen. That device tells the picker where to go. The picker then gets on the fork truck, drives there, gets off the fork truck, collects the cases, puts them on the pallet, and then keeps repeating that until the pallet is fully built. Typically, at the end of the process, you would drive to a stretch wrapper, get the pallet stretch wrapped, and then the process comes to an end. Now, as you can imagine, most of the time in this process is spent traveling from big location to big location and getting on and off the fork truck or the walkie rider. Also, with these machines, there is a considerable probability of injuries. So it is not unusual for these case picking workflows to cause injuries, and therefore it is a workflow where AMRs can be particularly useful. So let's take a look at how we can implement that case picking workflow with an AMR. At the center of this solution is our Freight 1500 AMR. It's designed to lift 1.5 metric tons, 1,500 kilograms, and so it can comfortably lift most pallets as they get built during the case picking workflow. The idea is that the pallet gets put on the AMR, and then it is the AMR that navigates autonomously from big location to big location. Now, what makes this safer is the very sophisticated sensor equipment that is on these AMRs. So if we take a look at our Freight 1500, it has 2 laser scanners. Each one of these laser scanners has a range of 25 meters. With these laser scanners, the AMR has a field of view of 360 degrees. So as a matter of fact, the AMR can drive forward or backward, and it is equally safe. There is no difference because the AMR can see in each direction. It also has 8 3D cameras, which allow it to see and discover any obstacles that are on the ground or any overhang that is high up that may hit a pallet once it gets higher. So what we're seeing here is the AMR on its way to meet the picker. Now, how does the AMR know where the picker is going to be? It knows because both the picker and the AMR are being orchestrated by a warehouse execution system. So it is the warehouse execution system that creates an efficient flow by sending pickers and AMRs into the right aisles in the right sequence. Now that minimizes the time the picker spends walking, and it maximizes the time the picker spends actually case picking, because we try and send the next AMR for the next pick nearby right after the previous pick is complete. Now, how does the picker get guidance? In the case of case picking, it is important for the picker to have both hands available. So what we are showing here is a vision-guided approach where the picker has a heads-up display. And on that heads-up display, they get a prompt that tells them what kind of case to pick, from what location, and where to put it on the AMR once it has arrived. A vision-guided approach is not the only solution for instructing pickers about the picks and where to put the case. Frequently used are also voice guidance systems. Those use a headset where a voice prompt essentially tells a picker what case to pick and where to put it on the AMR. Other approaches are an RF scan gun with a display where the picker can read what the next pick is and where the next pick location is. In each one of these cases, we also want the picker to be able to scan the case before putting it onto the pallet. That is an important audit record. So all of these approaches can be combined with either a ring scanner or a barcode scanner as a variable, or with an RF scan gun. But let's get back to our picker here with his heads-up display. So this picker has just completed the pick, and now the heads-up display is directing the picker to the next pick, which will be with a different robot. So you're going to see the robot and the picker disengaged. The robot is going to continue on into the next aisle for the next pick that belongs onto this robot's pallet, whereas the picker remains in this aisle, reducing walking time, and is being directed, again with the heads-up display, to meet another AMR that collects cases for a different pallet. So we're trying to keep pickers within the same zone, within the same aisle as much as possible, minimizing walking time and sequencing AMRs with different pallets into that aisle. So here's our AMR again. As you can see, the pallet is almost completely built. So now many cases have been put on top of this AMR. Different pickers have put the different cases on top of the AMR. And the other thing the optimization is doing for us, the optimization provided by the warehouse execution system, is it helps build an efficient path. So the path that this AMR has traveled is as short as possible for collecting all these different cases. And now with this final pick, the pallet is complete and the AMR will head out to the stretch wrapper. So let's recap what we've seen here. In this solution, the pickers stay in their assigned zones, one or multiple aisles. The pallet moving is done by the AMR. That drastically reduces the risk of injuries since forklifts are no longer needed for moving the pallet from pick location to pick location. If we look at the ROI for this solution, when you compare the manual workflow with the automated workflow, in the manual workflow, 80% of a picker's time is spent transporting the pallet from pick location to pick location. They're driving the fork trough or the walkie rider, they're getting on, they're getting off, and only 20% of their time is spent on picking. And it is by drastically shrinking those 80% that we get a very significant productivity improvement, in addition to making the workflow much safer. And that is where the real value of this solution is.